My greetings to each and every one of you who are joining me on this live telecast on Facebook. Thanks to this initiative of Embrace Vitiligo on the occasion of World Vitiligo Day. Now, the World Vitiligo Day is being observed since the past few years on the 25th of June. This day happens to be the death anniversary of Michael Jackson, and since he was one of the most recognizable personalities with vitiligo, this day is held in is observed in his memory to show solidarity with all vitiligo afflicted persons all over the world. Now, there have been many successful people with vitiligo all across the globe, starting from Michael Jackson. Then you have the famous model Winnie Harlow, who has been the face of vitiligo in a lot of modeling assignments. And then back home you have our Chief Justice, ex-past Chief Justice Sadasivam, who is also the Governor of Kerala. And then you have our current Minister of State for Labour, Mr. Santosh Gangawar. So there have been many people who are having vitiligo and attain positions of prominence in their respective fields and are famous around the world. So this day, World Vitiligo Day, is basically held to show solidarity with people having vitiligo, to create awareness on vitiligo, to embrace the vitiligo patients, to dispel the myths and misconceptions associated with vitiligo, and help people understand vitiligo better, and also help people understand the treatment options available to vitiligo better. I hope I am audible to all of you. If not, please let me know in your comments that I am not audible. Now, as I told you, this is 25th June, which is a World Vitiligo Day. And just to be on a lighter side, on a trivia, let's not forget that June 25th also happens to be the day India won its first cricket World Cup at Lord's, England in the year 1983, that is exactly 37 years back, by the Kapil Devils. So I hope this helps you to remember 25th June, the day India won its maiden World Cup in cricket, and also World Vitiligo Day. Now, what is vitiligo? Vitiligo is basically a disease in which white patches appear over one's body. Now, these white patches appear without any reason, and they are symptomless. That is to say, they do not cause any itching, pain, or any distress to the patient, and they are just simply occurring white patches. Now, these white patches can occur anywhere on the body, and sometimes the hair present on these patches can also turn into white. Now, there are many types of vitiligo. Generally, what we call as generalized vitiligo, which affects all over the body, or a localized vitiligo. Now, generalized vitiligo could be vitiligo vulgaris, where the entire body is involved, or vitiligo vulgaris, where most of the areas of the body are involved. Now, in localized vitiligo, vitiligo affects only one particular area of the body, so it is localized to a particular area. So, localized vitiligo could be a segmental vitiligo, where it affects just a segment of your body, or it could be acral vitiligo, where it affects your hands and feet, or it could be mucosal vitiligo, where it affects your lips or the private parts. So in all these places, it's just a simple white harmless patch over there. Now, what we need to understand is vitiligo is a purely skin disease. You will not have any systemic issues because of these patches. So there is nothing to worry about your life or anything with respect to vitiligo. It's just a harmless skin disease. The only thing why people are worried is because of its externally visible nature. So that's what worries them over. Now, why does vitiligo happen? Now, there is no particular reason why vitiligo happens. Basically, what happens is there is a cell called melanocyte in every one of our skin, and this melanocyte is the one which produces the melanin pigment or pheomelanin pigment. Now, all of have melanin pigment. Now our color is decided by the varying shades of melanin pigment present in our body. Now somebody who's fair would have a less amount of melanin pigment, and somebody who's dark would have a more amount of melanin pigment. So basically, and the extremely fair Caucasians would have something called pheomelanin. So basically what happens is, in our body, one fine day your body decides to destroy the melanin or reduce the content of melanin, so that the melanin production is reduced, and the melanocytes are destroyed, so that there is nothing to produce melanin and your skin turns white. So this is the simple reason of vitiligo. Now why this happens, we really do not know. It could be happening without any reason, or it could be happening because of a genetic tendency, or it could be happening because of autoimmunity. Autoimmunity, that's what I just said, the body's immune system goes around destroying the melanocytes. Now, this vitiligo can be sometimes associated with other autoimmune disorders like thyroid disorders or even diabetes. So generally it is a good idea to have a check on all these other disorders also. Now coming to the presentation, as I told you, it's a simple white patch without any problem. So most of the time it is a harmless white patch. People just get it worried because of its externally visible nature. So it's very easy to diagnose vitiligo, but nevertheless there are some conditions where you can get confused with vitiligo, like depigmentation or loss of pigment happening after some trauma or after due to chemical exposure, or sometimes there are other white patches also, though they are not really white, but they are less white compared to vitiligo, which can be diagnosed and differentiated from vitiligo by a dermatologist. So always when you have a white patch which you suspect to be vitiligo, always go to a dermatologist who will clinically diagnose you, and also sometimes use the aid of a dermatoscope to help you diagnose vitiligo. So once vitiligo is diagnosed, then next comes the treatment part. Now coming to the treatment part, we have varying treatment options available, right from medicines which are in form of creams or tablets, then we have lights and lasers, and then we have procedures like surgeries. Now the treating doctor would be the best person to assess what type of vitiligo you have and what is the treatment option best suited for you. So please do not try to self-medicate yourself or try to copy what the other patient or somebody known to you is using and try to use on others, because the treatment has to be individualized and it has to be different for each different individual. So always try to meet a doctor. Now coming to the treatment options, you have the simplest treatment option is creams, which we can apply on the patches. The most commonly used creams are the corticosteroid creams, and one thing we need to remember is there's no need really to get worried about steroid creams. Steroid creams, if used safely for the right indication, in a right manner and a right frequency and a right duration, are absolutely safe and can bring about wonderful results. There are some creams known as calcineurin inhibitors, like the tacrolimus or pimecrolimus, which can help also in some patients, especially with mucosal vitiligo. And in case where the doctor feels there is a need for more extra therapy, we will go in for oral tablets also. These tablets are designed to slow down the immune assault on the melanocytes, so that the progression is stopped. Now, next part is the light therapy. So in certain cases, we do tend to use the light therapy. The light therapy can be in the form of ultraviolet light, which is known as the ultraviolet A and ultraviolet B. More often we use the narrowband ultraviolet B. These are in forms of tubes, which can be in form of a panel or a chamber which the patient has to get in, or it could be an excimer light or excimer laser, which is given at regular intervals so that the color pigments die. Now one thing when we are treating vitiligo, we need to look at two things. One is to stop the disease progression, that is, the vitiligo can progress beyond its margins, the patch, and also it can appear in new areas. So the first thing what you need to understand and do is, first let's stop the disease progression, that is, keep it contained. The second thing is you need to see how to get back the pigment in the areas which have lost pigment. Now once you have understood this, let me tell you one more thing, concept known as stable and unstable vitiligo. Stable vitiligo means a vitiligo patch which has not increased in size for the past 1 year, and there are no new patches developing anywhere in the body. Unstable vitiligo is basically a vitiligo patch which is very unstable. It keeps increasing in size, changing in size, and new lesions or new patches keep appearing everywhere in the body. So this is something we need to understand. Now why this understanding this is important is basically because the surgical part depends on this. Now, surgery for vitiligo is done only in stable cases of vitiligo. That is where your patch has not increased in size and it has remained stable for the last 1 year. Only in such cases surgery can be taken out. Now, surgery, there are varied options like nature punch grafting, where tiny punches of skin are taken from a normal pigmented area and put into an area which is less pigmented, or it can be a ultra fine split thickness skin graft, again skin taken in a very thin manner and put onto the area which is less pigment, or it could be a suction blister graft, where a suction is using a blister is created using suction, and the separated out thin layer of skin is grafted onto the area which is less pigment. Or it could be even a melanocyte cell transfer, where you take out skin, a thin split thickness skin graft, and then you separate out the melanocytes or the pigment producing cells from that mixture, and then you use it on the depigmented patch. So these are the modalities by which we can surgically treat vitiligo also. So one thing about vitiligo is it's a very unpredictable disease. So there have been patients who have responded excellently well to the disease, and sometimes there have been patients who have not responded so well to the disease. So we always need to keep an open mind, and also in spite of you fully repigmenting or the skin color coming back to normal, you need to follow up with the doctors to see to that the disease process is kept under check. Now, there are few misconceptions and myths associated with vitiligo which I would like to share with you, and I would like to dispel. The common myth among vitiligo is it is contagious. Vitiligo is not really a contagious disease. It does not spread by contact. You're free to touch a person with vitiligo. It wouldn't really spread to you. You wouldn't get it by touching or breathing the air they breathe in. It is an absolutely non-contagious disease. So don't worry about vitiligo being contagious. Then many people think vitiligo is 100% hereditary. Now there is a component of hereditary aspect to vitiligo, but it's not like 100% hereditary. So there is a small risk of it being hereditary transmitted, but everybody can carry a risk. Now vitiligo affects persons 1 to 2% of the population worldwide. So anybody and everybody at any age group, even a newborn baby could get vitiligo, even a elderly man at a ripe age of 80 years also could get vitiligo. So there is no age bar. So don't be under the mistaken notion it's always hereditary. Some people think vitiligo is because of the wrong choice of food. The food is not really a culprit. In fact, some of the foods which are advised not to be taken in vitiligo, like the citrus fruits, are, I would say, you better take them because vitamin C is a very good antioxidant, and in vitiligo we have something called the oxidative stress, which basically helps to reduce the damage to the melanocytes. Now, talking about oxidative stress, this oxidative stress or the damage to the vitiligo happens because of the oxidative stress. Now, oxidative stress can happen either because of poor lifestyle, or it could be also because of the poor food habits and poor lifestyle habits. So it's very important that we have a healthy lifestyle, and also because of psychological stress. Many people who are psychologically stressed about the vitiligo condition itself end up aggravating the disease. So it's very important that you know the disease and you know the right aspects of the disease, and basically you try to have a healthy lifestyle, balance your food habits, balance your sleeping pattern well, and also try to keep your stress levels under control by meditation or yoga, so that the stress or the psychologically induced stress or even the oxidative stress to melanocytes is different, and as sometimes as the doctors, dermatologists taking care of your treatment, you would also be a part of the treatment. So this is about the food aspects, and many a time people also are really worried about marrying a vitiligo person. This issue is cropped up a number of times to me. So you have a person who is having vitiligo and you want to marry that person, and there is objection from family members. Now what I would say is there is a very small component of hereditary transmission of vitiligo, but that is a very small risk, and any person, as I told you, could develop vitiligo any time in life. So the risk exists for everybody you're marrying. So don't keep this as a barrier in turning down a proposal or not marrying a person. This shouldn't be a factor to reduce discriminate people. So as I told you, there are a lot of people who have achieved a lot in their fields in spite of vitiligo or despite having vitiligo. Don't take vitiligo as a process. It's just a disease process. It's just A simple skin color change